三摩地娑诃，嗡哈哈哈，嗡三摩地娑诃。
Hello, Amitabha. Okay, so today is our second class. Today's topic is, in whom can we take refuge after Buddha enter Nirvana? First of all, let us join our palms and we have 3 bows to the Buddha first. First bow to the Buddha. Second bow. Third bow. Namo Buddha. So last week we looked at the life of the Buddha and how he was born and what he did in his life. So today we are going to further look at that. What happened to Buddha? How did the Buddha become enlightened? So after Siddhartha Gautama became a spiritual seeker, he spent 6 years practicing with different teachers and subjecting himself to extreme austerities. He eventually came to the realization that nothing he had been doing was going to bring him the lasting freedom from suffering that he so sincerely sought. At the age of 35, he vowed to sit in meditation without getting up until he had discovered the ultimate freedom. There, he remained in the shade of a large ficus tree for 7 weeks in the northern eastern India town known as the Bodh Gaya. And on the 49th day, according to the legend, the Buddha entered a state of concentration so deep and clear, he began to see the nature of his mind and that of the universe. And during free times or the watches of the night, he apprehended how sufferings and unhappiness are caused by our actions and by our clinging to an illusionary sense of self, and how he became aware of how to let go of it. So when the morning star rose in the sky, the man who had been Prince Siddhartha Gautama was now the Buddha, the awakened one. The Buddha would spend the next 45 years of his life sharing the path of the practice that leads to awakening, so that others could work to attain the same states of enlightenment, freedom from suffering and samsara that he had achieved. So what is enlightenment? Can anyone become enlightened? What do we mean when we say the Buddha was enlightened? Enlightenment, or bodhi, is both Pali and Sanskrit. Is in both of the languages known as the awakening. The Buddha said of his enlightenment, ignorance was destroyed, knowledge arose, darkness was destroyed, light arose. As happens in one who is mindful, enthusiastic, and resolute. On the night of his enlightenment, underneath the Bodhi tree near Bodh Gaya in India, the Buddha recalled his past lives, understood the workings of karma and rebirth, and saw the origin and ending of suffering. This understanding freed him from the cycle of death and rebirth, and led to him most fundamental teachings, the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. According to the Buddha Dharma, any beings can be enlightened as the Buddha did In the Sravaka's tradition, enlightened beings other than the Buddha are known as Arahat, or the worthy ones. In Mahayana Buddhism, all beings are already inherently enlightened, but have yet to realize it. In the Mahayana, all enlightened beings are Buddhas. So enlightened beings have escaped the psychic existence known as the samsara and attained nirvana, where there is no more birth and death and no more suffering. Upon enlightenment, beings escape the three fires, or poison, anger, greed, and delusion. Enlightenment is the final goal of the Buddhist path. All Buddhist teachings points towards the goal of enlightenment and freedom from suffering. So who were the Buddha's first disciples? According to the Buddhist tradition, the first people the Buddha taught were 5 spiritual seekers who had been his companions and who practiced with him and later abandoned him after seeing him accept the milk offered by a girl. When they first encountered Buddha after his enlightenment in a place called Deer Park in Benares in India, they made a promise not to show him any respect. They considered him a failure who had returned to a life of luxury. But when they looked closer, the 5 spiritual seekers realized that the Buddha had become a bit different. He is being of noble, wise, and beyond all sufferings. The Buddha taught them that the means of awakening wasn't self-indulgence or self-denial, but a path in between, the middle path. He then taught them his foundational insights, the 4 noble truths and the noble eightfold path leading to the enlightenment. And thus was born the Sangha, the first community of followers. And after the next 45 years of his life, thousands of people from all walks of life became the Buddha's students, from beggars to kings, from murderers to Brahmin priests. Many decided to abandon the householder life and join the monastic community that arose around him. Among them were all the members of the Buddhist family, including his wife, son, and like uncles and fathers. The Buddhist scriptures are populated with great, colorful examples of the Buddha's main students, and many of whom became enlightened quickly, while others struggled for years to train their minds. Some became teachers in their own right. Sariputra and Modgayana, for example, who were famous for their profound psychic powers. Another principle, Mahakassapa, is believed to call the first council after Buddha's death, when 500 enlightened monks gathered to record all of Buddha's talk and set the course of his teachings going forward. The religious text tells us in the earliest days of the monastic community, the Buddha did not ordain women. The story goes that between the exhortations of his stepmother, Mahapajapati, and the 500 women were accompany her, and the influence of a disciples Ananda, the Buddha created the first order of the Buddhist nuns. So the text known as the Verses of the Elder Monks and Nuns tells the story of many Buddha students, showing the vast variety of people who become his followers and were able to reach enlightenment by practicing the path he taught. And Buddha entered Nirvana. On the banks of Hiravayati stood a pleasant, peaceful little wood. The master said, "Go, Ananda, and prepare a couch for me between two twin trees. Have the head to the north. I am ill, Ananda." Ananda prepared the couch, and the master went and reclined on it. It was not the season for the trees to bloom. Yet, the two trees that sheltered the master were covered with blossoms. The flowers fell gently upon his couch. And from the sky, sweet melodies slowly drifted down. The master said to Ananda, "See, it is not the season for flowers. Yet these trees have bloomed, and the blooms were raining down upon me. Listen, the air is joyous with the songs that the happy gods are singing in the sky in honor of the Buddha. But the Buddha is paid a more enduring honor than this. Monks, nuns, believers, all those who see the truth, all those who live within the law, they are the ones that do the Buddha a supreme honor. Therefore, you must live according to the law, Ananda, and even in the most trivial matters, you must follow the sacred path of the truth." Ananda was weeping, was crying. He walked away and hid his tears. He thought, "For many misdeeds that I have made yet been forgiven, I shall be guilty of many more misdeeds. Oh, I'm still far from the saintly goal." And he who took pity on me, the master, is about to enter Nirvana. The master called him back and said, "Do not grieve, Ananda. Do not despair. Remember my words. From all that delights us, from all that we love, we must one day be separated. How can that which is born be other than inconstance and perishable? So nothing can last forever, right? So how can that which is born, and how can that which is created endure forever? Long have you honored me, Ananda. You have been a devoted friend. Our happy friendships, and you are very faithful to it in thoughts, in words, and in deeds. You have done great good, Ananda. Continue in the right path, and you will forgiven your former misdeeds." Night came on. The inhabitants of Kusinagana had heard that the master was reclined under two twin trees, and they came in great crowds, a lot of people, to pay homage to the Buddha. An aged hermit, Subhadra, appeared, and bowing before the master, professed his belief in the Buddha, in the law, and in the community. And Subhadra was the last of the faithful to have the joy of seeing the master's face to face. The night was beautiful. Ananda was seated beside the master. The master said, "Perhaps, Ananda, you will think we no longer have a master, but you must not think that. The law remains. the law that I taught you, let it be your guide, Ananda. Well, I shall no longer be with you. He said again, O monks, all that is created must perish. Never cease to struggle. He was no longer of this world. He entered Nirvana. So what happened after the Buddha died? At the age of 80, and after 45 years of teaching, surrounded by a large group of disciples, the Buddha died. That event is known as the Paranirvana, a term that refers to the death of someone who was attained nirvana or enlightenment during their lifetime and will not be reborn again. They are free from the cycle of birth and death and all the suffering that entails. According to the Pali Canon, which contains some of the earliest written records of Buddha's life and teachings, about 3 months after Buddha entered Nirvana, around 400 BCE, about 500 of the senior monks met to discuss how the teacher's wisdom and rules he developed to guide the monastic community. The Vinaya would be preserved. How can that be preserved? So this became known as the first Buddhist council. After 70 years, 70 years after his death, a second council was held to come to terms around a set of 10 disputed rules for monks and nuns. It is widely believed that this was the first division in the Buddhist monastic community, or the Sangha. And the two branches were formed then. One that wanted to uphold all the rules of the Vinaya, and the other wants to relax some of them. The third council is said to be taken place during the reign of the Indian king Ashoka, who converted to Buddhism around 250 BCE. Ashoka was a powerful supporter of Buddhism and promoted the spread of the religion across the subcontinent. The council was intended to rid the Sangha of corrupt and the heretical monks. So the crucial components of the Buddhist scriptures are said to be formalized at this meeting too. By the time of Ashoka, writing had been widespread in India. So at that time, writing is popular. And Ashoka recorded sayings or edicts about Buddhism and other subjects in various languages across the subcontinent. The third council was also believed to have been the origin of teaching missions sponsored by Ashoka, where he learned monks and nuns could recite the Buddhist teaching by heart, were encouraged to act as missionaries to other lands and offered Buddha's Dharma teaching, so to preach to different places in the world. So these representatives took Buddhism to Sri Lanka, Burma, and elsewhere. In the successive centuries, Buddhism spread further to the East and Southern Asia and the Himalayas and became a prominent world religion. Buddhism does not demand blind faith from its adherents. Buddha is like the teacher and we are like his students. A Buddhist seeks refuge in Buddha because it is the Buddha who discovered the way to Buddhahood. A Buddhist does not seek refuge in the Buddha with the hope that he will be saved by his personal purification. The Buddha gives no such guarantee. It is not within the power of a Buddha to wash away the impurities of others. One could neither purify nor defile another. The Buddha, as teacher, instructs us, but ourselves are directly responsible of our purification. Although a Buddhist seeks refuge in the Buddha, he does not make any self-surrender, nor a Buddhist sacrifice his freedom of thought by becoming a follower of the Buddha. He can exercise his own free will and develop his knowledge, even to the extent of becoming a Buddha himself. So why do Buddhists bow to the Buddha image? What are the images? The Buddhists bow in front of the Buddha's images to express their gratitude. Buddha images are not idols, but symbols of the highest human potential. Buddhists also bow to their own Buddha nature, the Buddha inside. They touch the earth and turn their palms upwards in a gesture of openness and humility. This purifies the body, the mind, and the spirit. Why do Buddhists make offerings to the Buddha images? Making offerings is symbolic of honoring the Buddhas and reminds Buddhists to be generous. When making offerings, Buddhists wish that all beings will have all they need and be well and happy. Buddhists do not worship an image, expecting the worldly or spiritual favors, but pay them reference to what it represents. An understanding Buddhist, in offering flowers and incense to an image, definitely makes himself feel that he is in the presence of living Buddha, in the presence of the living Buddha, and thereby gains inspiration from his noble personality and breathes deep his boundless compassion. He tries to follow his noble example. The Buddha says, "He honors me best who practices my teachings best. He who sees the Dharma sees me." So in whom can we take refuge after Buddha enters Nirvana? The free refuge. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha are the free refuges in which Buddhists put their trust and reliance. Refuge contains the meaning of relief and rescue. That is, according to the meritorious powers of the Triple Gem. The refuge can be blessed and guided so that the boundless fear of life and death can be stopped and all sufferings can be liberated. So what are the Triple Gem? Before taking refuge in the Triple Gem, we must understand what the Triple Gem is. The Triple Gem refers to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The monastic members, it is described with the word gems because they are rare and precious in the world. It is rare to meet the Buddha. Not all sentient beings have the chance to hear Dharma and meet a Buddhist monk or nun, especially in the old days when transportation is not that good. The monks had to travel far to India to get the sutras and learn the Dharma. Like Venerable Xuanzang, his journey to India is not easy. And many monks or Buddhists sacrificed their life and died in the journey of finding the Buddha Dharma. So people also got to travel up to the mountain so that they can meet the monastic members. But nowadays, people can access Dharma teaching much easier with the help of new technology. People can listen to Dharma teaching using YouTube. They can have online classes using Zoom. So these are the big changes that we have within these few years, and how lucky we are. The Buddha gem refers to our Buddha and all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Buddha represents enlightenment, see the truth of the universe, has gained full awareness of his actions and the others, and perfected with practice, wisdom, and merit. The Dharma gem refers to Dharma teachings, which we usually call the Tripitaka, or also a 12-part division of the canon, and also the canon of the great vehicle. Because of ignorance, sentient beings are trapped in the cycle of life and death without an end. They do not know where life comes from and where they go after life. Take refuge in Dharma, and through their study of the Dharma, they can know the way to surpass the cyclic existence and relieve themselves from all kinds of sufferings in life and gain true fortune and happiness. The Sangha gem refers to monastic members who strictly follow the precepts. The Sangha includes noble monks and ordinary monks. Sangha represents the existence of Buddha Dharma in this world, and it is very important. Some people may think that they only need to take refuge in Buddha and Dharma, but not in the Sangha. Do you think that is right? The answer is no. Because the spread of Buddhism in the world relies on the Sangha members to practice and spread the Dharma teaching. So there's also a kind of person who thinks, oh, I should be fine if I only take refuge in Dharma and Sangha. The answer is no. Because the ultimate goal of our practice is to become the Buddha. So Buddha is an example for us to learn and follow. And if we do not take refuge in the Buddha's gem, we will lose our goal of moving forward. The triple gem is a complete and indivisible whole. If we did not take refuge in any of them, we are not considered Buddhists. We live in this world from birth to growth and death. Each stage requires different dependencies. As children, we rely on our parents for nurturing, and after entering the school, rely on teachers teaching and preaching. And after entering the society, rely on the guidance and educations of the colleagues. And after starting a family, we rely on each other's considerate assistance. And it is because of everyone's help that we can grow into useful materials in society. In addition to these people who live around us, we also rely on a variety of different objects. Some people believe that money is almighty and take the growth of money as our important spiritual essence. And some people believe the power is supreme and take the acquisitions of rights as their life goal. And some people believe in ghosts or gods. And when they encounter setbacks, they pray for the blessings of the ghosts and the gods. There are people who believe in God and hope to gain eternal life through the faith in God. All these phenomena are due to the dependence. So, But are these objects we rely on reliable? We depend on our parents, but they will eventually pass away and cannot provide us with shelters and forever. We depend on family, but the family also has union and dispersion. As the Buddhist sutra says, husband and wife are like birds living in the same cage. When facing a dangerous situation, they will go separate ways. When they're facing difficulties, they will just think about for themselves and they separate. So if we depend on wealth, but the sutras tell us that the wealth is owned by the five families. So which are the five? The great water can wash away our wealth. The fire can burn the property. The high winds will blow the property away. And the thieves and underworld forces will plunder their property. And even if they are lucky enough to avoid these five families, well, these five disasters, their descendants will spend their wealth to the fullest. So they can't really keep their wealth forever. So no matter how precious the object is, we will lose it someday. When power, status, property, and the loved ones are lost, what can we rely on? Do you believe in ghosts? Ghosts and gods are also like us, ordinary men. They are joys, anger, and sorrow. If we give offerings to them, they can indeed bless you when you're happy. But if you make them angry, they will harm us too. Confucius asks us to respect ghosts and gods and stay away from them. So is God reliable? Although God's power and blessings are greater than ours, when his blessings are exhausted, he must also circulate in the six paths like ordinary men, so they can reborn in a lower realm, like an animal or human form, or even lower, hungry ghost realm or the ghost realm. So therefore, only Triple Gem is the most final and trustworthy place to return. Taking refuge in the Triple Gem is not to take refuge in one person. First, the treasure of the Sangha we take refuge in does not refer to one person, but to the entire Sangha and all monastic monks or monastic members. For example, when you have a great relationship and admire a monastic member and wish to follow him or her, that does not mean you take refuge in her or him only. We must treat all monastic members in the Sangha with utmost sincerity. So what should we visualize while taking refuge? The contents of refuge includes repentance and vows. But most important thing is to recite the words to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha in our life. Everyone should pay special attention when formally pronouncing these words, because refuge is not only a ritual. The key is to obtain the essence of the precepts from the vow when taking refuge in the Triple Gem. So everyone should accept the essence of the precepts from the vow with a sincere, pure heart. And the vows have an upper, middle, or lower qualities or levels, which are all obtained according to different paths. In the purpose of our refuge is not for ourselves, but for the future of the all sentient beings, we can attain a vow with the upper quality. So we should have a better vow when we take the refuge. So better quality. If we take the refuge in the hope that through the study of Buddhism, we can get rid of our troubles and get rid of our own life and death, then we'll be able to obtain the vow of the middle quality. If we take refuge only to seek people's like heavenly blessings, or to bless the safety of our family and the prosperity of the business, then that is the vow of the lower quality. So what kinds of vows you want to get? You should also pay attention when you take the refuge. So Master Xingyun also once gave great examples, and he said, the Buddha is the teacher, the Dharma is the truth, and the monk is the teacher. All three are important courses for the attainments of all the sentient beings. So classical, the classic metaphors. Okay, Buddha is a good doctor, and Dharma is like a miracle medicine, and the monks are like the caretakers. So for people who are sick, only by having all three at the same time can they be cured. The same is true in our life, of our life. Only by relying on the power of the three gems, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, can we live happily and from all the sufferings and achieve free liberation. Buddha is like light. It's the light, can mature all sentient beings. Light has three functions: shine, warm, and mature all beings, mature everything, maturity. Because there is light. There is the light in the darkness. Oh, I will not be afraid because there is light. The warm heat makes me not too afraid of the cold because of the light. The sun can mature everything, make them grow. So therefore, the Buddha's light shines so that there is the light in our heart. And that light, when that light in our heart lit, it can also be said taking refuge in the Buddhahood, light up our body mind. And we'll build our power plant. Well, we will have like a plant, and we will keep building and cultivate and learning good Dharma of compassion, wisdom, and faith. And this will be continue like the flow of energy for us to grow on this path of the Buddhahood. Dharma is like water, which can nourish all sentient beings. Water has the functions of washing, which is to remove the dirt, the filthy, our bad karma. Okay, so water can wash that. Okay, the Dharma is the water. It has the function of quenching thirst. So if we are thirsty, it can relieve our thirst, which can relieve people from hunger. So if they are hungry, wow, the Dharma is like feeding them with food. So there is this energy of growth. A flower, a grass, all sort of things on the earth relies on water, and water can make us healthy and grow. Converting to the Dharma is like building a water company in the heart. So the water nourishes our body and the mind and cleans all our troubles and dirts. So it's not like we'll be run out, we will have plenty of water, always help us to get healthy. Yeah. So a monk is like a field, and he can plant happiness and virtues. Monks are the teachers. like the Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattvas, the Guan Yin Pusa, the Maitreya Bodhisattva, Nila Pusa, and all different Pusa, yeah. And the holy monks, and with good knowledge, and they are our teachers, educating us, guiding us, sharing the knowledge with us, helping us, serving us, giving us a convenience. And they are also called the Fu Tian monk. So they have virtues, is large, and then we can build our virtues through offering to them. So they are the field, and we can build and earn our merits through them and from them. So if I take refuge in them, it is like having a lot of fields, and I can cultivate and cultivate the crops and give them a good harvest. So whether it is building, it is like having the grains or planting fruit, it will develop and grow. So everything that you sort of put there, you will have a good result eventually. So some people enjoyed reading and learning Dharma, but refuse to take refuge in the Triple Gem. Why is that? A lot of people are like that. Why? Because they are afraid of taking commitments. They do not have a good understanding of the Dharma, so there is no faith. They do not believe the Dharma is the truth in the world, and they may change their religion easily in the future, like when they meet new friends or getting married. So they do not think they are like Buddha. They can enlighten like the Buddha. So actually, they don't have the right view. They don't have the right understanding. So when Buddha lives in the world, people took refuge directly from him. Usually, Buddha will give teachings in different places, and among the audience in the talk, some will want to become a Buddhist after hearing the Dharma. So they will come to the Buddha and say, "Oh, I want to be the Buddhist." So they directly go and ask for the refuge from the Buddha. And the Buddha will recognize this and tell that person to make a vow and become a Buddhist. Sometimes the Buddhist disciples go out and give teachings or begging for food. And after the teachings, also people who would like to become Buddhists because their teachings are great. So the Buddhist disciple will say, "Oh, please wait." So that these people wants to become Buddhists under them, but they will say, "Oh no, wait, let me bring you to the Buddha." So all people take refuge from the Buddha. Well, they should take refuge from the Buddha when Buddha is living in this world. So after Buddha enters Nirvana, we are still obtaining refuge from the Buddha, but not going directly in front of the Buddha. We will recollect the Buddha, and with the help of the Sangha members. The Sangha members are the witness that helps us when we take refuge. We pay homage and take refuge to all Buddhas, Dharma, and the Sangha. So this is the 3 refuges. Homage to the blessed ones, the perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the teaching. I take refuge in the Sangha. For the second time, I take refuge in the Buddha. For the second time, I take refuge in the teaching. For the second time, I take refuge in the Sangha. For the third time, I take refuge in the Buddha. For the third time, I take refuge in the Sangha. And for the third time, I take refuge in the Sangha. So this is how we should do the 3 refuge. It's not the same as the Chinese. The Chinese only say 1 time, but in the other languages, in Pali or Sanskrit, they do 3 times. So to become a human, after the reincarnation process is difficult, the rare chance can be compared to the case of a blind sea tortoise. It has a very long life. It services once every 100 years. And this is like a piece of wood with the hole in the middle, floating on the water. It is drifting with the water currents. If the blind tortoise needs to service through the hole in the piece of the floating wood, remember, it has only a chance every 100 years. It is also blind, and the location of the piece of wood is not fixed. So you see how difficult it is for a tortoise to succeed. The chance to become a human being is just as difficult. The chance is very small. So we should treasure our life in human form. We should be a good Buddhist. Okay, can animals take refuge under the triple gem? This is possible, but we cannot tell whether they understand the meaning of taking refuge, because they need to understand what they are doing, and they need to know who they are relying on. Animals are indeed intelligent. Some can understand words or concepts, but there is still no proof of that. For example, I remembered when I studied at the Buddhist Institute, and there are 3 dogs at our school, and they love to join our morning and night praying services. And they will only come and sit there when we are chanting. They love to hear me chant when I hit the bell at night or in the morning too, or when I hit the board before the service. So when the dog is getting old, it's very old, and he knows he's dying, and the dog left the temple and hides in the mountain. He wants to die alone and does not want to bother the monastic members. So the dog knows he's dying, and he doesn't want us to have to look after him or take care of his dead body, or to do anything with him. So he just go to the mountain and hide and die himself. So they are really clever, you see. They know what they are doing, but exactly whether they can understand the Dharma teaching, we don't know. But they are intelligent for sure. So animals have great sufferings. So it will be great if we can help them take refuge. I think we should tell the animals what the triple gem is when we have the chance, why they became animals in this life, and tell them not to become animal again in the next life. So you can do that a lot, well, in your garden, or with your pet, or when you come across any animals, because they are unfortunate to become animal in this life. And you can help, well, by guiding them, well, to help them take refuge. At least they have this seeds in their mind. Hopefully they will one day become, will leave this path and enter a better path in the future. So also like to share a similes of a Ajahn chant with you. Aimless wanderer. When we have no real home, we are like an aimless wanderer out on the road, going this way for a while and then that way, stopping for a while and then that way, stopping for a while and then setting off again, until we return to our real home. Whatever we do, we feel ill at ease, just like someone who left his village to go on a journey. Only when he gets home again can he really relax and be at ease. Nowhere in the world is any real peace to be found. That's the nature of the world. Look within yourself and find it there instead. When we think of the Buddha and how truly he spoke, we feel how worthy he is of reverence and respect. Whenever we see the truth of something, we see his teachings. Even if we never actually practice Dharma, but even if we have knowledge of the teachings, have studied and practiced them, but still have not seen their truth, then we are still homeless, like the aimless wanderer. So are we the wanderer? And why do we keep wandering? And when will we stop wandering in the cycle of life and death and look after ourselves? Not just satisfy our desire and basic needs, but on a deeper level, to see the truth and get out of this mundane world. Buddha faces many difficulties during his life. Buddha has already enlightened before us, and show us the way to liberate ourselves and be happy forever. And we got to put aside, we should learn from Buddha, put aside our anger and anxiety and practice according to the Dharma teachings. Don't give up when we face difficulties. Buddha has already done the hard job. We know what we have to do, and Buddha do it for us, show us the path, but he can't really, well, he can only show us the path, but he cannot do it for us. So we must do it on ourselves. So this is the end of the talk for today. Let us dedication of the merits. Can we put our palms together? Let us pray together. I sincerely dedicate the merits gained from hearing the Dharma to all beings. May they gain true happiness and freedom. May they walk the path to liberation, to Buddhahood. May they always be safe, well, and happy. Okay, so this is the end of the talk today. It's a little bit early, a few minutes left. So anyone want to say anything? Otherwise, we'll continue next week. Oh, yes, okay. So if no further conversation, well, let us free bows to the Buddha. Okay. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay.